This is the story of Clyde and CJ as they embark on a wild journey to the middle period of history. They were just your average students at San Pedro College, trying to figure out what to do for their history assignment. As they brainstormed, CJ jokingly said, "It'd be so much easier if we could just travel back in time," without missing a beat. Clyde pretended to channel his inner Doctor Strange, dramatically making the hand gestures to open a portal. Of course, nothing happened, so they both laughed it off. But then, a few seconds later, the room shook, and suddenly, a portal appeared out of nowhere. They exchanged excited glances before rushing into the portal without hesitation. And just like that, they were transported back to the 3rd century BC. The boys were thrilled, thinking they were going to ace their assignment. But their excitement quickly turned to a panic when they heard a scream. "Ah! Those boys just appeared out of nowhere! They must be sorcerers! Get them!" CJ and Clyde immediately ran ahead. "We should be careful," CJ whispered urgently. "Let's just act normal and natural," Clyde replied. "Now, let's go talk to some of the locals and find about these watermills," CJ suggested. The two boys wandered through the village, taking in the sights and sounds of the busy 3rd century BCE town. They came across a group of farmers standing by a stream, watching a watermill tirelessly grind grain. The rhythmic clanking of the wheel turning in the water fascinated Clyde. CJ nudged him. "This is it. This is what we need to learn about." They approached one of the farmers, an elderly man with a kind smile. And CJ asked, "Excuse me? Sir, could you tell us what this watermill is used for and how it changed your life?" The old farmer raised an eyebrow, but seems to sense the boy's genuine curiosity. He leaned on his staff and began,
The watermill. It's a blessing for us. Before this, we used to grind our grain by hand with stones. It would take hours of labor, and the harvest could spoil if we didn't finish quickly. But now, thanks to the watermill, we can grind much more in less time.
Clyde eagerly interjected. "So, how was this change affected your village?" The farmer scratched his chin thoughtfully.
Well, it's made our lives easier. That's for sure. We can well produce more food for the village, and we've even been able to trade with nearby towns. That means more food, more trade, and less work for us.
CJ was impressed. "So, it's more efficient and allows for trade? That's pretty important." The elderly man nodded, his face lighting up with pride.
Indeed. We also got more time to work on other things, like building tools or caring for animals. It's made the village more prosperous.
Clyde pulled a small notebook, scribbling down notes furiously. "This is perfect. We can explain how these meals impacted society. It's not just about grinding food, it's about creating new opportunities for the community." As they walked away, a portal suddenly appeared. "Finally, we can go back home," Clyde exclaimed. Without hesitation, both of them jumped toward the portal, eagerly anticipating the air-conditioned comfort of their classroom. But instead of landing back in their time, they were transported to a different period, the time when the windmill was created. As the bright light of the portal faded, Clyde and CJ found themselves standing in the middle of the vast open field. The air was crisp, and the wind howled as it rushed through the golden wheat fields. In the distance, they saw a towering wooden structure with long, rotating blades. The windmill. A man, covered in dust and wearing simple tunic clothes, noticed them and approached. "You two look lost," he said with a raised eyebrow. CJ quickly thought on his feet. Yeah, we're travelers, interested in how this windmill works." The man chuckled. "Well, you've come to the right place. These windmills are a game changer. Before, we relied on rivers and watermills to grind grain, but not every place has a strong river. The windmill let us use the power of the air itself. Clyde scribbled notes. So it works even in places where there are no water sources? Exactly, the man said proudly. It helped us expand our farms and mills to areas we never thought possible. And not just for grinding grain, some of these can pump water, saw wood, and even help with metalwork. CJ looked at Clyde excitedly. This is revolutionary. They don't have to rely on water anymore. This allows village in drier areas to thrive. The worker nodded. That's right. It's changing the way we live. Faster work, better efficiency, and more food for the people. Just as Clyde finished jotting down notes, the familiar swirl of a portal appeared before them. CJ grinned. Let me guess. Another jump? Without hesitation, they leapt into the portal, ready to see what invention awaited them next. Clyde and CJ tumbled out of the portal, landing with a thud on a wooden deck. The scent of salt water filled their noses, and the sound of waves crashing against the hull made them realize they were on a ship. Uh-oh, CJ muttered. Please tell me we're not on a pirate ship. Clyde looked around and spotted sailors dressed in ancient Chinese robes, moving swiftly across the deck. One of them, a bearded man holding a circular metal object, noticed them. CJ elbowed Clyde. We're travelers. We heard about the compass and want to see how it works. The man raised an eyebrow, but seemed intrigued. Ah, Jinzen! Yi liu bia de faming. Yikian? Shui shu men big shu yi gao xing xing lai dong hang. Dang dang chiang kong yin zai xi. Ca men heng rong yi mi liu. Zhen zai. Du kil yi zege yu si si go deng gong zhu. Woman zeng ngeng zao du woman del yu. Clyde was amazed. Wow! So, this lets you travel longer distance? Zhi, the sailor said proudly. Wu mai zhen zai ke yi tan su di zj wa de zhije. Mao yi luk xian zheng zai ko da. Wang gu zheng zai biai deng zheng zheng jian da. CJ grinned. Another invention that changed history. We're on a roll. Before they could ask more, the portal swirled open again. Here we go again, Clyde sighed, jumping in after CJ. This time, they landed in a bustling medieval town square. The first thing they noticed was the towering clock tower in the middle of the town, its larger gears turning. Merchants bustled about and people gathered beneath the tower to check the time. CJ nudged Clyde. Dude, they didn't have smartphones or watches back then. This thing is their only way to tell time. A nearby clockmaker overheard them and chuckled. That's right, young ones. Before, people only relied on candles or water clocks. But with this mechanical clock, we can now measure time accurately, even at night. Clyde scribbled in his notebook. So this changed how people schedule their days? Indeed. The clockmaker nodded. It helped organize trade, church services, and even daily labor. It keeps our world running smoothly. Before they could ask more, the portal opened once again. CJ ground. Let me guess. Time to go. They both laughed before stepping into the portal. This time, they found themselves inside a small workshop filled with glass lenses. A man, hunched over his workbench, was carefully crafting a pair of spectacles. Whoa, are those the first eyeglasses? CJ whispered. The man looked up and smiled. Ah, you must be curious about my invention. Many people struggle with reading as they age, but with this, they can see clearly again. Clyde beamed. So this helps scholars, monks, and readers continue their work? Indeed, the man said. Knowledge can now be passed down more easily, and in time, this will improve even more. Before they could say more, another portal swirled into existence. No time to rest. Let's go! They landed in a dimly lit laboratory. where a scientist was hunched over a strange-looking tube with lenses. Welcome! You must be here for the microscope, the scientist said excitedly. CJ's eyes widened. Wait, people couldn't see bacteria before this? No, the scientist said. Before, we only knew what was visible to the naked eye. But now, we can explore tiny worlds like cells, microorganisms, and more. This will revolutionize medicine and science. Clyde grinned. This is huge. Doctor will be able to understand diseases like never before. Just then, the final portal appeared. CJ and Clyde exchanged a look. Think this one takes us home? Clyde shrugged. Only one way to find out. They stepped through and... The next thing they knew, they were back in their classroom, sitting at their desk. CJ looked at Clyde. Dude, was that real? Clyde glanced at his notebook, filled with notes from every time period they visited. If it wasn't, then I have one heck of an imagination. Their teacher walked in. Alright, class, time to present your history assignment. CJ grinned. We got this. As they stood in front of the class, ready to share the incredible journey, they both knew this was the coolest history class ever. The end.
Innovation has always been the heart of human progress. During the Middle Ages, despite war, plagues, and hardship, brilliant minds across different cultures created inventions that shaped the world we live in today. From Europe to the Islamic world and beyond, technology evolved, helping societies grow, survive, and thrive. Let's take a journey through time and witness the evolution of medieval science and technology.
The early Middle Ages were a time of instability. After the fall of Rome, Europe struggled with economic decline, feudalism, and limited trade. But even in these difficult times, innovation did not stop. One of the simplest yet most essential inventions was the candle clock, used in monasteries and homes to measure time as wax burned away. Without accurate clocks, medieval life was dictated by sunrise and sunset. Meanwhile, in the Islamic world, scholars made great advancements in science. The astrolabe, perfected by Muhammad ibn Musa al-Khwarizmi, revolutionized navigation, allowing sailors to chart their course using the stars. This helped traders and explorers travel further than ever before.
As Europe's economy recovered, cities grew, and trade flourished. This period saw major inventions that transformed daily life. The watermill became a powerful tool for grinding grain, reducing manual labor and increasing food production. This helped feed growing populations and fueled economic growth. Timekeeping also advanced with the mechanical clock, pioneered by Richard of Wallingford. These clocks, installed in churches and town squares, allowed communities to organize daily life more precisely. In the late 1200s, Salvino Darmi introduced eyeglasses, giving scholars and scribes the ability to read and write for longer hours. This contributed to a rise in education and knowledge.
The late Middle Ages brought even greater changes. Trade expanded, cities grew larger, and new technologies reshaped society. In 1440, Johannes Gutenberg introduced the printing press. Before this, books had to be copied by hand, making them rare and expensive. The printing press made books affordable and accessible, spreading knowledge across Europe and fueling the Renaissance. Meanwhile, warfare changed dramatically with the introduction of gunpowder weapons. Though gunpowder was first discovered in China, it was Berthold Schwarz, a German monk, who helped introduce early firearms to Europe. This invention marked the end of medieval knights and castles, shifting the balance of military power. During this time, explorers needed better navigation tools. Muhammad al-Idrisi, a Muslim cartographer, improved world maps, allowing explorers to venture further, leading to the Age of Discovery.
While Europe and the Islamic world were advancing in science and technology, societies in the Philippines were also thriving. One of the most important Filipino inventions was the balanghay, a large wooden ship used for trade, travel, and even warfare. These boats allowed communities to connect across islands and with neighboring countries like China and India. The balanghay. It was not just a ship, it was a symbol of Filipino seafaring excellence. Another remarkable innovation was the bamboo water transportation system. Early Filipinos created an intricate network of bamboo pipes to transport fresh water from mountain springs to villages. This system helped communities access clean water without the need for wells, improving sanitation and daily life. Perhaps the most famous example of Filipino engineering is the rice terraces of Ifugao. Built over 2,000 years ago and continuously improved, these terraces allowed mountain communities to cultivate rice on steep slopes.
From simple tools to groundbreaking discoveries, medieval inventions shaped the future in ways their creators could never have imagined. In Europe, the printing press spread knowledge. In the Islamic world, the astrolabe guided explorers. In the Philippines, the Balanghay and rice terraces sustained entire civilizations. Innovation has always been a shared journey across cultures, and just like in the past, it never stops growing.